joined us. This is Good Morning Ghana Live on Metro TV. And it's time to have a conversation with the Minerals Commission on the extractive industry here in Ghana. Last week, we started looking at the big five areas where we're speaking about domestic financing. We also referred to local content and local participation. There's the issue of value addition, exploration and mining, and then small-scale mining. Last week, we spent time on domestic financing. We'll wrap up on that, and then we'll move to the number 2 on the list, which is local content and local participation. Mr. Martin, Ayisi, good morning and welcome.
How are you?
By the grace of God, I'm doing well. You look and sound quite excited this morning. Speaking to you before I sign on, looks like you're happy.
Yes, because the report I'm getting on the ground from Blackwater is exciting.
It's exciting?
Yes, the security is doing a great job.
Yeah. So the water is clearing now?
It didn't get to the Pran Cobra situation.
Yeah.
So they've cleared them on the water. They now patrol. Then there is this part in the Bono area where they work on the land and wash into it. So those are the areas that are being tackled now. They move the thing into the bush, and then out to it, and then they come back. That's what they do. But I think...
So you're sure we can sustain this?
Oh, yes. It's just sustenance, Randy. Let me tell you something. Now the military is there, patrolling on the Blackwater. It's kind of a dense jungle surrounding. They are there now. They flush them out, demobilize, and clear all those structures. If they leave, maximum 1 month, they will come back. Okay. They will come back. So for the community, they will say, these people will get tired. Oh, they will leave. But as I said, a lot of them were foreigners, and many of them came from Togo. So that is it.
Let me ask your view on this. And this will just be, I don't know if the commission has a position on it, but you have raised this issue a few times, that the ability to sustain the presence of the military in many of the areas has been a bane, because when the military presence is there, we are able to restore things to normalcy. The people are on the lookout. Once they see that the military is left, then they come back. Now, there is this viewpoint that, look, in view of what this thing is doing to us, and it's like an existential threat to us.
It is.
We should look at perhaps, if it is either the military or it is the police or whatever, we need to look at perhaps recruiting a lot more people and permanently, having what you might want to call a standing force for against illegal mining, and placing them permanently and providing the logistics, because maybe per the size of the military today, we cannot afford to have that level of permanence at all the areas at the same time. But in view of what this, how the threat that this poses to us, maybe as a nation we should look at perhaps recruiting a lot more people and having a permanent standing force at all those places, if that is what will help us, if it's even for another 5 years.
Randy, when you say force,
yes,
it changes the architecture of the whole thing. The word force.
Maybe the military. Maybe the military recruiting more people.
When we say force, you're talking about the military, police.
Yes.
Those are specialized institutions created as per the Constitution.
Yes.
So we have to be careful about our language. Yes, I think something like that has been done, conceived, properly thought out. We call them river wardens. River wardens. Okay. They are not force.
But outside the military?
It has nothing to do with the military.
Okay. What I'm suggesting is like the military, because they are the forefront, like you're speaking of Black Volta, it's a military exercise.
Yes.
But I'm saying that I'm told that to have permanent military personnel at all these areas could be a serious drain on the military. So there's a view that looking at how this thing, the threat of this whole thing, as far as our existence is concerned, maybe the military can be given this thing of maybe adding 5,000 more men or 3,000 more men so that they'll be able to now deploy personnel permanently at these places, if it's even going to take us 5 years.
Give that money to geological survey.
You give the money to geological survey?
To do geological investigation.
Okay. How would that change it? How would that solve the issue?
You see, when we say permanent, when we say permanent presence, like in the past, when they go and clear them, okay, we get to know after 2-3 months that they are back. Okay, so the strategy now is that the frequency with which the security apparatus go back there is what is the matter. So permanent does not mean 24/7.
Yes.
For the water body, that one, you know, they have about 15 boats. How much does it cost for? I mean, they just move around. So it's like their normal Navy job that they are being called to do.
Right.
I mean, 15 boats, 10 Navy people, a few gadgets here and there, moving on the water body. It's fine. That's their normal job. But I'm saying that, so they are moving on the Black Volta. Now, the other areas are joining the water body where they work on land. At most, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the military will have to go back based on record to see whether they've come back. So you take your excavator there, it is taken, they destroy everything. In the past, maybe it's only after 6-7 months when we hear that they are back, that's when they go. But within 2-3 weeks, they go and do a recce again. And then they say, oh, they go again. So I have this, my officer in Asankagwa, who tells me that some area which used to be endemic, the miners, you know, Galamsey in that area has gone down. Why? Because of the frequency which the security people go there.
Okay.
You understand? So you go there, you flash them, they think you come back in 3-4 months, or perhaps 6 months as usual. So within 10 days or so, they take them by surprise. So with that, they don't come back again. That's when they move elsewhere.
Okay.
So permanency does not mean 24 hours.
Stationed, yeah.
For the patrol, yes, they are on the water body because that is dear to all of us. Even the dam has some patrols, so that is different.
Okay.
But it's not as if they are there 24 hours.
Right.
No. Okay. But they go back now frequently.
And it's working.
So, oh yes, that's working because you see, when they clear an area, they have a way by which they gather intelligence. So as you start moving slowly, okay, slowly, by the time you start and organize your champagne and then organize your infrastructure, they come back.
Okay.
So the report we now have is that strategy is working very well.
Okay.
Very, very, very well. Okay. Especially in some of these new areas that some of them are moving to. It's like these armed robbers. When they are feeling the heat in a particular area because of the resurgence of armed robbery and the security agencies step up patrol.
They lie low or relocate.
The other, if you like, retreat, relax for a while. And when they are getting hungry, they move elsewhere, hoping that maybe things will stabilize and then they strike again. Right. So it's better that way. So it's not as if you have to deploy the entire military 24/7 because they also have their core mandate. I don't think, I would rather say give us that money for us to do geological investigation because it costs, to deploy men and logistics and all those things.
Okay, once you think that this strategy will work, that's fine.
That's okay. Right. But why is the media not going there to go and find out the situation?
Going where?
Because they brought the thing to the attention of the general public, which is fine. But by now, the same people who went there to go and take those
pictures. Even a Black Volta.
Oh yeah, should also be reporting and say, oh yeah, things have improved. Well, it's not peculiar to Ghana, but everywhere in the world, people like negative things. I'm not saying that is wrong, because then it is something that alarmed the entire country because of the dam and then the last thing standing, the Volta River. So it's been dealt with. Yes, and insofar as people have decided that for them, no matter what you do, they will have to go and do that kind of thing. Then we don't.
I'm sure you've seen the picture of the Forestry Commission staff who's been shot.
Yes. Yes.
People are getting very brazen in
Yes,
this activity.
that is what I'm talking about. You see, that is it. Okay? When I saw that thing, I said, oh, wow, it could be my district officers. But that's a Forestry Commission officer who was going down for maybe a patrol. You know.
So it means that they were doing it in the forest reserve?
That is it.
Oh. You know. Anyway, okay. So last week we were speaking about financing, and today I want us to touch on local content. Okay. And local participation.
All right. So Randy, thank you again, and good morning to our viewers. You know, I said that for us, or for me, these 5 key areas, if we design our policies and programs properly, some of them are in place, so as I explained, I'll touch on them.
Right.
Then we can get mining to uplift, what we call it, this nation, to rival what we see in perhaps South Africa and some other countries. So I keep saying that as much as possible, these billions we keep mentioning.
Let me stop you for a minute.
Yes.
Okay. I have a text from a statesman, a senior citizen. I'm sure that we all know him. The Honorable Dana Budakpi.
Yes.
Yes. Says, watching you right now, what about clothing our local chiefs down to the level of Odikros and unit committees with authority to fight this menace and holding them accountable? Have we thought of that? So what about clothing our local chiefs down to the level of Odikros and unit committees with authority to fight this menace and holding them accountable?
The system already exists. We have the district mining, so Honorable Dana Budakpi, if he's hearing me, we have the district mining committees.
Right.
Which is headed by the DCE. So the Minerals Commission Inspector is there, the EPA is there, the police commander is there, the chiefs are all there.
Okay.
Yes, and we found that they meet regularly. Okay. Some areas they are working very well, and they've been able to hold. So the framework for that already exists in the law.
All right.
That is it. So that's my answer. So let him know that it exists. But as I keep saying, and the Asari Chrome one, I didn't want to talk about it, but Randy, it will be difficult for me to say that the local authorities don't know about the Asari Chrome one. The one that showed up in the graphic front page, was it 2-3 days ago?
Yesterday.
Yeah, or the chief. It's very difficult for you to say that he's not aware.
Yeah, that's where they said they've dug up the deity.
Everything, and that's how brazen they are. Okay, it's not an easy thing. Yes.
All right, so let's go on.
So as I said, for me, insofar as the billions continue to come from outside, then you are not going to do that, because you see, the question you have to ask yourself is that what if they pull out? So look at Niger. Cool. Almost all those billion mines there for uranium, they are all investment from France. Okay, so $1.5 billion, $500 million Cardinal, 250 Azuma, and all these billions being used for redevelopment. Why can't you raise the money here? 2 things are very important. You will need to educate the people or the public to know that, look, this is where to put your money. And also have a deliberate provision in your laws to ensure that people keep their monies here. They raise some of the money here. Because, you know something? The $1 billion for the Ahafo North project is going to come from Newmont Mining Corporation. Newmont in US. Whether they are going to raise money on the stock exchange because they're in the stock exchange there, or they are going to give a loan to Newmont Ghana, and then at an interest of, double digits, and that kind of thing. It's worrying. So for us, one of the things we need to do is that we will need to push very hard on the local thing. There are a lot of pension funds and hedge funds that have a lot of billions lying down. Maybe this is the time to go in there, okay? The fundamental difference between us and South Africa is that many of them own the mines. So we will need to work hard on that. So that is it. And I'm happy it has started. I mean, some of the mining companies are now raising some of the money locally. The billions will not be able to get all, but at least you need to start from somewhere. Now, Randy, local content is also another area that we will need to take seriously, which we are doing. Why am I saying so? Let me repeat this. The mining companies procure all kinds of services and goods daily for their operations. So we have a law that governs this particular space. We call it the local content and local participation. You know, take note of the wording. Local content and local participation. Okay, LI 2431. It was just passed in 2020. Other than that, prior to that, it was a section within the what do we call it, the licensing regulations and that kind of thing. So, what does the law say? The law says that every year, Minerals Commission, every year, generates a list for goods and services that the mining companies must procure. So normally what we do is that based on the report we get from the mining operations, we are able to tell they spend so much on these items or on these services. Then we sit down and look at the capacity, because you see in the report they also tell us who they buy from. Do you understand? So I can tell you offhand that maybe there are about 10 Ghanaian companies doing this, or 5 of them or 15 of them. And then we will have to look at whether or not we have the capacity, particularly where it's a big ticket item, that is, they spend so much money on it. So last year, we generated a list of 41. Now, you normally see 3 things on the list. 1, there are areas that are totally preserved for Ghanaians. In other words, it is not possible for a foreign company or any company, whether owned by Ghanaian, partial, or like the Newmont and Goldfields, to procure that particular service or buy that particular good, from any other person other than a Ghanaian company or entity. So you have those on the list. I'll mention a few. Then we have areas where it's open. So foreigners can come and set up here and also take part in it. We normally allow that if there's no capacity. And then there are some areas that are reserved solely for those who live around the community. The areas we are quite careful in being a bit draconian is the area of manufacturing. The various inputs and things they use. We need to be sure that, 1, we have people who can do them here. 2, Randy, you don't go out there and then ask people to come and set up, manufacturing, like let's say B5 plus, or is it on a pram? Yeah. That's a lot of money, millions of dollars. And then they produce all kinds of items, fabrication and all those things they use at the mines. And then they also do other things for the other mining companies. So they set up a plant to manufacture all products, $100 million. You can't get up and say that this particular product, give it to a Ghanaian. So what happens to that 100 million plus manufacturing facility? So manufacturing, we are quite careful. The drive rather is let them come here and set it up rather than import. But if you want to import, then it has to go to a Ghanaian. Okay? So I'm happy B5 plus can be here. You can manufacture all those equipment and then the companies will buy from you. Other than that, why go and bring it from Egypt? Okay? Where you need to go and bring it from outside, give it to a Ghanaian. So these are the 3 categories. And some areas, I think, is a national disgrace. Just to allow certain things. Unfortunately, it was happening for a very long while. We have now stopped it. Again, let me repeat, my favorite is selling of fuel to the mining companies. You see, at the mining company, when they give contractors to those who have the petrol stations, okay, they have to set up on site. Okay, yes, they have to set up on site and all those things. And until 2018, you have almost all the foreign companies that were doing it. So we changed the rule in 2019, which says that you cannot allow any company that is not 100% owned by Ghanaian citizens to supply fuel to the mine. Other than that, let me repeat, I made this comment last week. Randy, any foreign company that comes here, anytime they want a particular good or service to be provided to their local entity, they look for companies that come from their jurisdiction. Okay? So if a French company should come here, for instance, and let's say we happen to find uranium, or they want to go into any other area and what we call invest in the mining sector, the transfers of their funds from France, most likely, because there is Société Générale here, they will send it to Société Générale. It will not go to Ghana Commercial Bank. It won't go to CBG, NIB, or Agricultural Development Bank. So you need to have a deliberate policy to say that those monies that come from outside to finance some of your operations, let them go. We are not taking their money. Let them go to the local banks. So effective this year, and we've been very, draconian about it. It was 20%. So we said all their financial transactions, at least 60% of the money should go to banks that are 100% owned by Ghanaian citizens. If you don't do that, they will continually use EcoBank, APSA, StanChart. Now the South Africans use Stanbic. We have Stanbic here. It's a South African bank. So Anglo Gold Ashanti, Goldfields, they'll use Stanbic, because that is a South African bank that has been established in Ghana here. I'm not being nationalistic, or I'm not driving. They will do the same thing. So instead of your $100 million or your millions of dollars that come in all the time when you sell the good or you transfer money to finance your project, okay, instead of bringing some through Stanbic, we are saying at least 60% take it to ADB. I'm not the one to tell you take it to ADB or CGB or Commercial Bank. I have gotten the list from Bank of Ghana. We wrote to Bank of Ghana, give us the Ghanaian banks. They gave us a list of 9. We've given it to the Chamber of Mines and the mining companies, that these are the banks that Bank of Ghana says they can do business lawfully, or as lawyers say, they are in good standing. We did the same thing. Minerals Commission wrote to the National Insurance Commission. They gave us all the companies that are in good standing, that are owned by citizens of Ghana. We've passed the information to the mining company. So what it simply means is that when we are reviewing the 2022 report, because this came last year it was 20%, this year is 60%, so we've jumped it up. So next year, by the end of January, they have to file a report. Every mining company will have to file a report to the Minerals Commission. In 2022, I sold gold this amount of money, or I sold manganese or bauxite this amount of money, and I returned maybe $100 million to Ghana. So we have to ask, how much of that was used for insurance? And did you meet the 60% threshold minimum? The same thing for the finances. That's the kind of, we have to do that deliberate. Other than that, Randy, if you don't do that, Newmont, they will not take their money to Agricultural Development Bank. They won't do it. Okay? They won't do it. Goldfields, they won't go there. They will put their money in Stanbic, Ghana. You understand? So these are some of the new policies and programs to ensure that mining benefits this country. Let me repeat. You don't own the $1 billion mine. The money that comes to can also go through banks that are owned by Ghanaians. Okay? So Stanbic, maybe the other 40% you can take it there. But the 60% that you, look, Goldfields and Idwapin are going to do a JV. Okay? If government should okay it, they are going to spend over $5 billion. If you fold your arms and don't do anything, all the money will come to Stanbic. Stanbic, South Africa, where Goldfields and go have their money, they'll put it there. And then, yes, and then they'll bring it here. So what is Ghana Commercial Bank doing? What is it? They also need those monies to also loan to people and then improve their capitalization, and then the money will circulate. They will do it there. I mean, there are areas in US, in Canada and other countries, where if you're a foreigner, they will not allow you to go into that space. So why can't we do the same thing here? So 1957, independence, right? How old are we? 66.
8?
66.
66.
66. Randy, let me ask you this question. You do you normally ask the questions, but I'll ask you, what is extraordinary about selling fuel to the mine?
Nothing.
That after 66 years, you should allow, let's say, Total to be selling fuel at the mines in Ghana here.
Doesn't make sense.
And our 2021 report says the mining companies, not all of them, the big 13 or so leases, spend $304 million. 2021. That time we brought the rule in 2018. And within 2 years, the thing has jumped from $100 million to 304. If you add lubricants, you're talking about 400 million. Would the money go outside?
No.
All those Ghanaians who are supplying fuel, would the money go outside? It will stay here. But Total, after paying their taxes and doing all those things, Vivo, Engine, they will repatriate their profits. Okay, these are the things that impact, and he's not going to repatriate cedis, he will repatriate dollars. Okay, he will take it to Société Générale, they will take it to Société Générale France. The money is gone. But this time to stay here. Catering services. Okay, those are in category B. Security. Until we put that on the list, the South African company set up here. Okay, and they were providing security at the mines. So when I was entering Metro here, you have a security guy here.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. So if it is 100 or 50 people that are supposed to guard the various, posts or the various areas at the mine, you want a foreigner to come and do that? What does it take to provide security? He's not holding gun. If he needs extra security, Ghana Army or police, depending on the circumstances, can provide those at the mine. But to hire somebody to be at various vantage points, you want a foreigner could do that, there should be something wrong. So thankfully we stop all that. So security, catering services, even haulage. For now, manganese hauls the ore to the port for export. Okay? Until we put a smelter in place. That contract will have to go to Ghanaians. They are the ones doing the same thing for bauxite. And medical services, just to go through the list. So medical services, catering, security, even there are some 2 areas that we introduced, drilling and contract mining. Now, drilling is everything as far as exploration is concerned. I mean, you really need to drill and then get the resource out. You do it in 2 ways. You either do it open pit or surface or underground. So we are saying that when it comes to drilling services, we cannot give the contract to a foreign company. Many of them were from Australia. So surface operations, reserved for Ghanaians. And there are a lot of Ghanaian drilling companies. I mean, these are persons who used to work in the mines as geologists and mine engineers. A little money they got, they set up a small company, and then they started getting 1 or 2 contracts. They become very big. Underground, a certain percentage is reserved for Ghanaians, about 40. But I've seen 3-4 companies who are Ghanaians, and they are getting contracts. So you go to Obuasi, there's a Ghanaian company who is doing drilling services for underground Obuasi. He's doing the same thing for Chirano. So it's a matter of time. If I get over 4 or 5, I don't want monopoly. 1 and 2 is not good enough. We will say now drilling services, whether surface or underground, now it's for Ghanaians. For all these years, all these decades, Australians were doing it. Okay? They'll bring the Australians here and come and do it. And then contract mining. What is contract mining? Basically, there are 2 ways in which you undertake your operations. You either do it yourself. If you like owner mine, you own the mine, you do it yourself. Or you give it out. And the example I use is that you can hire people, put them on the payroll of Metro. Okay? And that they will clean here. So it comes in the morning, close like the normal 5. Or you give it out to a company to bring in people to come and clean the morning. A few stay around if some places are dirty. And then they go back or they come down. They are not full-time employees. You pay the contractor. So contract mining essentially involves they drill, blast, load, and haul to the mill. Okay? There's so much money involved. 2-3 years ago, our report is about $1 billion. You're talking about 50 items on a list. 1 item alone is equivalent to all the receipts paid to government of Ghana.
Contract mining.
Yes.
$1 billion.
Yes. Okay. All the receipts government takes in terms of corporate tax, whatever 10% dividend you receive if they declare profits, royalties, withholding taxes, all those things put together. If you get the data from GRA, because we get that for planning purposes to design our policies and programs. Okay? My last check is roughly about $1 billion. And that same amount, just one out of the 50 items, is spent by the mining companies to drill, blast, load, and haul. Essentially, that is what it is. But of course, it's expensive because you need a lot of machines and all those things. So, Randy, you can't sit down here and you don't own a Hafo mine, you don't own Takwa mine, you don't own Cardinal mine, and then you also want to allow companies to come from Australia, Canada, South Africa to come and drill, blast, load, and haul. There should be something, something must be wrong. Fortunately, I can show and demonstrate about 15 or more Ghanaian companies. Rather than listen carefully, I have in my database properly registered with the Minerals Commission, because you can't do any job at the mine if you're not registered by the Minerals Commission. In fact, you can't, if you're not a staff at a mine, you're not from EPA, you're not from Geological Survey, you're not from Minerals Commission, you can't enter any mine in Ghana. The persons that are allowed to enter a mine in Ghana outside the employees who are working there, and we have the list: Minerals Commission inspectors, EPA, Geological Survey. We have unfettered access because we are regulators. Unfettered access. Any other public institution, you have to come to us to allow you. Because what did we see? They will send us a notification that some people are coming in to come and visit the mine. And then a 3-day, 4 visit just to check on 1 or 2 things. The person is there 6 months working. That's what they were doing in the past. So the Ghanaians started alerting us, the Ghanaians who work there, or sometimes when we go on inspection, we check. Then we introduce that rule that even if you want to visit Ghana, the MD of Newmont's, worldwide, if he wants to visit Ghana today and he wants to go to the mine, unless maybe he's going to hold a meeting at the head office here and go back. But if he wants to go to Newmont Achin and Co., he has to send a notification to Minerals Commission like 2 weeks advance notice. His documentation, everything, what he's coming to do and all those things, before we permit him to come in. When he's coming, when he's leaving, what he's going to do, who he will report to. That is a rule now. We instituted that because under the guise of people coming from corporate office to come and just see what is going on, they end up working. So you go there, an American geologist is working 3, 4, 6 months. We can give 6 months visa. We don't give. Okay? And then he can renew. So he can be working on a visitor visa without knowing. Fortunately, we stopped that, and the fine is quite heavy. So these are some of the things that we are doing. So about $3 billion annually, spent by the mining companies on goods and services. At least your policies and programs, and that include this procurement list that was introduced, must be designed in such a way that you make sure Ghanaians do it. And we are doing very well. Randy, we are doing very well. 2002 April, young lawyer then, maybe perhaps the only company that was around there, maybe engineers and planners. And they started small, if you like wheelbarrow, or the way some of these billionaires start from their garage and they become billionaires overnight. Now we can boast of 15 or so, and the figures are growing. Okay? So Cardinal, Azuma, and all these new mines, they are giving contracts to Ghanaians. We have the expertise. Let me tell you something. Yesterday, I chanced upon a story. The MD of Newmont Mining Corporation in Peru is a Ghanaian. And then there's one, Mr. Charles Bisu, not a politician, who has been working in U.S., Newmont, U.S. They have brought him here as a general manager at Chim. So we are doing very well. Now we've moved from 41 to 50. Now, in terms of skills, let me repeat this. Skills, Ghana, world class. I'm not talking about Africa. Any mining company that comes to Africa, if they are looking for skills, Ghana is the first place they rate. So where you have the numbers is Australia. lot of Ghanaian mining engineers. If you go to DRC, they are there. Practically every West African country, they are there. They are every country in Africa, the 34 or so where mining takes place. You have a lot of Ghanaians there. There are Ghanaians working in Canada, they are in US and co. I've just mentioned these two. Now, Randy, by law, all non-technical roles, we don't allow expatriates. All non-technical roles. So you cannot have, as some years ago, where you have an expatriate being external affairs manager. So all non-technical roles, HR, all those things now totally preserved for Ghanaians. For the technical roles, general manager down, also preserved for Ghanaians. So you cannot have an expatriate as a mine manager. You cannot have, an expatriate as a general manager. And Randy, increasingly, practically almost all the CEOs now are Ghanaians. So my favorite, Iduapim, the CEO is Ghanaian. Gold Coast is run by a Ghanaian. If you go to Obuasi, the MD is Ghanaian. Okay? The general manager for Achim Ghanaian, the one for Ahafo Ghanaian. So Ghanaians are all over the place. Fortunately, we have developed a database which the companies can access. I'll be meeting all the Ghanaian professionals in Australia in about 2 weeks or so to discuss. And so when they run the adverts, we circulate within that space and people can actually apply for them. Let me tell you an interesting story. There's a Ghanaian mining engineer who is working with a lithium mining company in Australia for about 5-6 years now. I was looking for him, so I got in touch with him. Only for Atlantic Lithium to tell me yesterday that they are hiring him.
Oh.
Yes. So the guy is going to relocate to Ghana. But we already had him in our database. Okay? He's a mining engineer, 6 years, working in a lithium mining company. So these are the kind of things we are talking about. So the other day you're asking me whether we are ready, we have the space. They are all there. Okay? I've just gotten about 10 Ghanaian, engineers who are working with various lithium mining companies. Because Australia, as we speak, produces at least 50% of the world's lithium. Okay? So a lot of Ghanaians are working there, mining engineers. Again, you've heard companies, industry and co complaining about the quality of our graduates, that they have to spend a lot of money to retrain them, not in mining.
Because,
before I even explain, products from the Ghanaian University studying the various mining programs and geosciences, perhaps at the only sector, let somebody challenge me in any other sector, perhaps they are the only categories of graduates that if they leave the university, they are employable because of the 2020 law.
Which is what?
The local content law, which says that every mining company in Ghana today, you are bound to pick the mining and mining-related, programs, students, and then they come and work in the mine. So you go to UMAT, our premier university. Those who are studying mining engineering, mineral engineering, metallurgical, chemical, geological, all these people. At the end of the first year, that long vac, is it 3 months? You have to take them. So Newmont have to tell me, I'm taking 20, maybe 3 mechanical, 3
like an industrial attachment.
Asanko, yes. Proper and well organized. They come to the mine and are trained. They go back. Second year, the same thing. We check, they send the reports with the names and the courses. So maybe Randy Abbey, mechanical engineer, first year, UMAT, or mechanical engineer, first year, KNUST. He stayed here for 3 months. We check all those things. You don't have it in any sector. Second year, he goes back. Third year, he will go. Fourth year, he will go. So roughly, he has got more or less like 9 months of experience. So by the time somebody will come out of Newmont or KNUST with a BSc in mining engineering, he's employable. The basic skills, what is blasting, mine rescue, those basic things, they've learned it. Some years back, you just go to the university, only 1 or 2 will be picked if you're lucky and you know somebody. Now it's mandatory. And then, if you're fortunate, you will see certain things for the first time when you leave the university and go to the mine. It is no more. Then after that, you take them for national service. So the national service postings that are coming out in a month or so, or 2, a lot of them that have engineering backgrounds, particularly mining, geoscience, and all those things, they all be taken. Even if it is 5 each, the mining companies are many. Okay? You're talking about maybe 50 to 100 of them. Most of them do service there. And then after that, they have what they call graduate training program. So here's your son who has finished mining engineering, 9 months of experience at UMAT, okay, or mechanical engineer. Then national service. So that gives him effectively 2 years. Then he undergoes, so maybe if the national service Newmont has 20, and now they are going to take more because of Hafunov. That's what they told me. They are preparing them from a Hafunov, which will be ready in 2 years. Then 20 national service, then he will take maybe 10 because they are watching them, those who are very good. They will do the 2-year graduate training program. So 2 years, service 1 year, and then when you are in school. So that's roughly about 4 years. Then maybe they will hire about 5. The others will go to the other mining companies like Cardinal. Mincom will also take some. 2019, when we were expanding, I took about 10 from the graduate training program. Very brilliant. They are already exposed to the mining. So he has 3-4 years experience. You put him under a senior inspector, okay, in our regional office. Give him 2-3 years, he's good to go. Some also go to Australia because normally when gold prices are high like that, a lot of companies do hiring. So you see them 2-3 years experience, they leave for Australia. They come back anyway, like this young man I'm talking about who has spent 6 years at a lithium mine in Australia. If the company are not taking him, who were going to hire him to put him in our inspectorate division? So Randy, these are the kind of things that are going on, and let me say that it's been very dramatic in the last, if you like, 5 years. It started about, if you like, 10 years ago, but we had to put them in the law now. Because you see, when it is not in the law, it is difficult to push the companies around. So the 2020 law, which was passed maybe barely 3 years ago, so the law was passed in 2020 December, they will give them 1 year moratorium that all these people must leave. So 2 years ago, we told Eduapin, the man who was the CEO must leave. We gave him 1 year. And then they headhunted a Ghanaian. He's one of the smartest mining engineers you can find on planet Earth. So that is the quality of skills we have. Did I tell you of a story? I don't know whether I said it here or another station. All the CEOs and top professionals were invited for a discussion at a meeting some time ago this year, with the vice president. Randy, Anglo Gold, Goldfields, Golden Star, everybody was invited. We went to the room. Of course, I was also invited as a CEO and then regulator. We went to the room. I did not see a single expatriate. That day, I was just wiping my face. So I think one of the MDs was asking me, are you having some eye problem? I was reminiscing 2002, 2003, where even my captain, superintendent, and co. Because you see, these people are certified. You start with blasting, mine rescue, foreman, mine captain before you become mine manager. You call such meeting, you only find 2 or 3 Africans. At best, maybe mine superintendent or mine captain. Everybody was an expatriate. You go to the clubhouse, expatriate. Now it's no more. So they were coming in droves. So one senior government officer was asking me, are we ready? I said, why is he asking me? Oh, we are waiting. He thought that we're going to see expatriates as MDs working. I said, no, these are the people who make the decisions. That is it. And then they walk in, we had a decision. Not a single person was an expatriate in that room. So that's how far we have come. This year we are going to revise the list again. Come October, we'll meet the Chamber of Mines, go through with them, and say we have either, and we are going to do 3 things: put new items on the list, increase the percentage of the quota for Ghanaians, because we've seen more companies, or for some things make it now 100% Ghanaians, right? Because we now have about 4 or 5 companies, and they dare not preach to us capacity, because I'm here to get a report from Goldfields Ghana, the Goldfields Takwa or Aboso or Cardinal, or any of the mining companies to tell me, I'm here to get that report, that nobody is doing well in contract mining, in fuel supply, etc. Catering, it is a very delicate thing. Because when the miners complain about their food, because you see, they are on site, bush there. So you have to bring breakfast, you have to come and eat lunch, dinner, everything. Sometimes everything is taken underground. A whole lot of things happening. So a small complaint by the miners that the food doesn't taste good or whatever, they will fire you. So the standards are very high. And now Ghanaians are beginning, there are Ghanaian companies that are beginning to manufacture inputs. So for example, Tropical Cable, they manufacture cables that are used by the mining companies. If I get 2, 3, or 4 and nobody has complained, that means I can say that don't import any cable because we have companies that can do it. Nobody has come to complain to me that they have problem with the Tropical Cables. Okay? That's a Ghanaian company, somebody who has worked very hard over the years and even export. So people didn't know about this. That's why I'm always ranking your program A1, that of Asempa, because we go there to NGTV. People didn't know. The impression people had was that mining company, they've come, they go into the bush there and create economy. They just employ a few people and then they dig a stuff. They don't even add value. Then they take the items out. If they like, they say we have 10%. And then they don't even declare profits for us to get a dividends and that kind of thing. That is the impression the average Ghanaian has about mining. Until we started this education, that today you are talking about $3 billion being spent by them every year on goods and services, as against a third of that being paid to the exchequer. Okay? That there are so many jobs in the mine that you cannot bring an expatriate to come and do it. So if you either advertise or go into the database or take it to Australia. Okay? I said in 2 weeks' time, I'm meeting all the Ghanaian professionals in Australia in mining. We have arranged that already. They will come and talk to me. They will bring their CV. I'll update the database. So when you tell me that I want to go and bring a plant metallurgist, an expatriate, I said I have about 20 in my database. Okay? So go and hire them. If you have an emergency situation, maybe I can allow you for like a month or two whilst you take time to hire the Ghanaian, because it takes time for them to relocate.
Right.
So the graduate training program and then this long vacation intention for the mining engineers. The very day Parliament passed that law, that was the best thing that ever happened to us. Because right now, Asanko cannot look into my face and say, I'm not going to take any graduate training. I'm not going to take any national service person. It is mandatory.
Right.
That is it.
Okay. So Martin, we'll leave you here today.
Yes. So
Yes.
having covered local content and then the local financing,
yes,
when we come, we'll discuss the other.
Yes, the other three.
The other three.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
So that'll be it for our discussion. Up next.